The entrance to the camp, once you've been through the reception area, is through these tunnels. As you will see, they're quite dark and sombre, which I guess is getting you in the mindset for what you're about to see later on. As you walk through these tunnels, you will hear the sound of a voice speaking the names of every individual that was killed in either this camp or Auschwitz II, which we'll be visiting later on in this video. This open corridor that we're going down now opens out into the entrance to the camp itself, albeit not the actual concentration camp. This is just the larger camp, and this was originally built not as a prison but as a military barracks, and was used as such prior to World War II breaking out. When they invaded Poland, the Nazis took this camp over and turned it from the military barracks into a prison camp and then a concentration camp. In 1940, it had a population of about 8,000 prisoners. Prisoners that were either Roma gypsies, they were either gay people, they were Polish prisoners, and a few Jews. Mostly, however, they were Polish cultural icons, teachers, professors, any educated person, any of the resistance people, any of the political heads, any of the resistance or whatever. So they were rounding people up in great numbers. As a consequence, this this camp became too small. As I say, in 1940 it had a population of 8,000. Come 1941, however, it had a population of 26,000. We're walking now towards the main gate, which you'll see just ahead there, and fairly soon you'll see a still photograph of the gate itself, with the watchtower to the left there, or the sentry tower to the left there, to make sure, well, basically to guard the gate. And this is where the actual barbed wire starts, and so we're now moving into the camp itself. And as you will see as we go into the camp, you'll see there are many buildings which look like military barracks in fact, and each one of these buildings had a specific purpose. One of them, for example, I think building number 10, was the so-called hospital, where they conducted experiments on women in particular to find ways to sterilize them. And block number 11, which we will be visiting, was the punishment block. So you can imagine most of these blocks were probably considered punishment blocks anyway. So if you'd done something really bad, or probably something not really bad, you'd end up in the punishment block, which, as I say, we'll be visiting shortly. These other buildings, however, are basically a memorial to the over 1 million people that have died here and in Auschwitz II. And in each of these buildings there are sort of exhibitions of various types. There's a lot of photographs, a lot of information boards telling you the history of it, and the history of also Auschwitz II. And as you walk through this, you will see there are various exhibits, and some of those I've taken still photographs of, like this one, which is an exhibit showing the actual cross-section of a gas chamber and crematorium. On the video which follows, you'll see that on the far left of that display there is the underground gas chamber, and above that you'll see models of individuals being herded into it. On the left hand end of the larger building there, which is the crematorium itself, those two doors, I believe, are the elevator doors where they move the bodies up from the gas chamber itself up to the crematorium once those people had been murdered. All the information relating to that is on those, in the notice boards at the front there. This one is a case full of, or not full, but half full of Zyklon B canisters. This was the rodenticide, which was used to gas people. Tablets poured into the actual gas chambers, which once they'd hit the air, they released a lethal gas. That case there we just saw there was full of spectacles, which had been removed from individuals when they'd arrived, and the second one was all of their cups and pots and dishes and stuff which had been removed from them when they arrived on the platform. As were these shoes. Everybody was issued with uniforms, or and so their shoes were taken away from them, and they fill these, there's tens of thousands of them in these exhibition cases on both sides of the room. So what on earth would have happened to these ultimately, I've got no idea, but they were obviously preserved for some reason by the Nazis, and were shipped in here from Auschwitz II after liberation. This case shows all of the luggage and so on that was collected from people when they arrived on the platforms. Everybody had their worldly goods with them in baskets and cases and panniers and so on, and they were removed from them as soon as they arrived, moved to one side, and then later on rifled by the Nazis for all their contents. And so you can see every one of these items of equipment belonged to someone that was subsequently murdered. Now we're going into the main camp itself. There are many buildings. I'm not sure how many there are. We don't visit them all because the tour itself is only a couple of hours long. So you visit, I think we visited 2 of them. One of them we've been in already, and the next one that we're going to visit will be the punishment block number 11. You would imagine all of these would have been punishment blocks in any event, so why they determined one of them was a particular punishment block, I don't know. But this one on the left is the punishment block, and in there, obviously, if you've done something that really upset the Nazis, then that's where you ended up. And on the right hand side there would be the accommodation for the guards, and you know, any other administrative people might be in there as well. Here we are in the ground floor of the punishment block. We'll see a cell shortly that belonged to or that was occupied by a Franciscan monk or Franciscan priest. Please pause the video if you want to read the detail on some of these boards and the names of the people who you can see there. This was a cell I referred to earlier. Full place. That cell contained 10 people at one point, and they were in there being starved of both food and water until they died. This is a solitary confinement unit. You can imagine how it was to spend any time in there, only enough room to stand up in. This is the death wall where many people from within punishment block 11 met their fate. And as you can see there, the flag made above there was made from the grey and white striped pyjama. And against that wall. This is the only remaining gas chamber on both of the camps. This was originally converted from a morgue and has been converted for quite a different purpose by the Nazis. You can see on the walls of this building, both in the still photo and in the video, the scratch marks on the walls caused by the fingernails of those people that were desperate at the end of their lives, trying to get out of this horrible building. You can see there on the right hand side the entrance to the crematorium. In both camps. There we can see the cremation area, and there were 3 ovens in there which were moving, which are operating 24/7. We're on the way out of the camp now. We're just about to see a picture of, on the far left there in the distance, is Rudolf Hosse's house. He was the camp commandant of both 1 and 2. There's an iconic picture or a photograph that a lot of people will have already seen, and again, this is an entrance into the very bleak camp. This was purpose built as a killing camp, a murder camp, extermination camp, and it didn't have any airs or graces. They had the original building there at the outset, and all these other buildings that you can see were actually destroyed when they were liberated in 1945, and have been reconstructed with the materials that were left on site, where the old buildings had been demolished. So the internals had remained. It was just the externals that had been demolished. This first one is an amenity block for ladies, and down there you can see the latrines that they were forced to use, albeit they weren't in accommodation in this particular block. This was only for washing and toilet and showering, and this was for the people that were actually going to be used as slave labour, and they would have been housed elsewhere. If they'd used the toilet without permission, they could well have faced death. So they had to ask permission to do everything. Here's one of the actual blocks with the bunks that they would have had to occupy. Again, ladies, and probably 4 or 5 ladies to a section with no pillows, no blankets, nothing. This one was for children. This is a children's block, and these are all the original bunks again, and the floor you can see is original. And now we're walking back towards the main railway line, which basically bisects the camp. And as we approach the railway line, we'll be turning right and walking to the end of the platform where everyone arrived, and we'll be seeing the gas chambers, or at least what's left of them. There'll be a still photo of the gas chamber first, which is there, and then you can see the actual gas chamber cum crematorium combined in the next section, which is there. And these were destroyed by the Nazis as soon as they knew that it was going to be liberated, because they want to destroy any evidence. The only thing that gave anybody a smile on their face for the whole day was this particular area, which, although being an awful gas chamber, and those poles across there are to keep it from falling in, right in the middle you will see a fox cub which was hiding under a concrete slab. So if you want to go back and pause on that, you'll probably see it right in the centre of the photograph. We're on the way out of the camp now, and these are all the buildings originally constructed to accommodate 125,000 people, but actually had 400,000 registered in 1944. And this is now towards the end of the visit.